Why are you homeschooling? Do you hear that question a lot? I did. When I heard it, I often was lost for words. Is that you? When somebody asks you, why are you homeschooling? You're kind of fumbling around, looking for answers, and maybe your answer changes depending on who you're talking to. Is that you? That definitely was me. Are you tired of the day-to-day sameness of your homeschool environment? I was. Maybe you need just that to ignite that spark back into your homeschool environment. I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us. You're going to love our topic today. We're talking about why are you homeschooling? My name is Diana Rolston. Welcome to Spark Homeschool Parent. Each week, we bring you strategies to ignite the spark that engages your child's learning. We're starting off a new month and a new focus for the month. We will be talking about purpose for the month of November. If you were able to join us in our previous month, we were talking about strengths, and you will see how strengths help us create our purpose of homeschooling. From here, we will move on to attitude, and that will be next month, and how the purpose of our homeschooling creates and has a huge impact on our attitude, but also the attitude of our children as they are doing their school. I want to welcome you. I have had the opportunity, and I love just connecting with people who are homeschooling, who aren't homeschooling yet, but connecting to the people who are watching this, just so that I get a sense of who you are. Let me know. But I have been able to connect to some of you who aren't quite homeschooling yet, who it's in the back of your mind, and I want to welcome you because you are investing the time in yourself, but also in your children, so that when you do start homeschooling, you just start strong by listening to veterans like myself and others who have gone through this journey. I want to welcome some of you also. I've reconnected with some who homeschooled with me. In our family, some of you know I have 3 boys within 2 years of each other, so our homeschool journey was quite different than many, and some that I used to homeschool with are still homeschooling their young children, so welcome. And we're having trouble streaming to Facebook. I'm not sure what's going on. Oh, I think it's just one of the, anyway, I'm going to continue on. Technology, so much to learn. But some of you have been homeschooling for a long time, and I want to just congratulate you for your perseverance and welcome you, because you know that it's not easy, and it's great to be part of a community so we don't have to do this alone. So welcome to everybody. This conversation is for you if you stumble when you're asked why you homeschool. This conversation is for you if you're not exactly sure how to answer that question. You may know in your heart why you're homeschooling, why you're on this journey, why you are where you are, but you haven't taken the time to put it into words. So this conversation will be for you. Or if you have a difficult time with that day-to-day mundane tasks of homeschooling, it seems that each day rolls into the next and you need just some spark. This conversation is for you. And you're going to see how those all connect to each other. No doubt you're part of a few homeschool communities, and this, why you homeschool and the purpose of your homeschool, is an important topic for all families who find themselves homeschooling. So I ask you and invite you to share this video, share the Spark Homeschool Parent community with other families that you know who would benefit. I'm sure they would be appreciative of that. This is Spark Homeschool Parent, and I'm Diana Rolston. And today's conversation is, why are you homeschooling? I was asked that many times from friends, from family, curious family, but also from people, random people who really weren't invested in why I was homeschooling, but they were just curious. When my eldest was in grade 3, my twins were in grade 1, we had this wonderful opportunity. I have family throughout the world, and one of my cousins was getting married in Australia. So our family was going to go on this extended, fantastic holiday in Australia. So we started homeschooling. It was easy to answer that question. Why was I homeschooling? Because my children are going to be missing a lot of school, and we're going to be homeschooling, and come January, they'll go right back into school. January came and we continued homeschooling. And again, when I was asked, why are you homeschooling? I'm homeschooling until the end of the year. We'll reassess at that time and see what we do next year. September came and we continued homeschooling. And I continued giving that same answer of why we're homeschooling. We're homeschooling this year. It's going okay. We'll reassess at the end of the year, and we'll see how it goes. That happened again and again. Maybe that's what some of you find yourself in the same situation. 5 years went by, and I came to like, hey, we're homeschoolers. I think I was a little hesitant to come to that realization because there's a lot of stereotypes about homeschoolers, and I just didn't feel like I fit into like a homeschool mom, or I don't know what it was. But we were homeschoolers. We were homeschooling. At that time, now, 5 years later, my children were 12 and my other two were 10. And I really had to do a reassessment. Why were we homeschooling now? Up to that point, we were homeschooling year to year with the thought that the boys would go back into the school system. I brought school into the home, and we stuck to the curriculum because, hey, they were going to go back into school. So I wanted to make sure that that transition was easy for them. My why of homeschooling year to year and reassessing determined my purpose for homeschooling. And my purpose had a huge impact on my goals for myself and for my children. And then those goals in turn defined the choices that I made, the day-to-day choices that I made in our homeschool environment. Because of my purpose and the why and the goals determined how I was homeschooling. I was bringing, like I said, school into the home because that's what I knew, and that's where my children were, according to my purpose, where they were going to be going. So I was continuing with that. It determined the subjects that my children studied. Because they were going to be going back into school possibly the next year, I took whatever the school was learning, the provincial curriculum, and that's what my children learned. My purpose, which had an impact on my goals, also determined the friends that my children hung out with. Because if we're just doing this temporarily, my kids are going back into school, they're going to, in our minds, those are going to be their friends, their school friends. We were just temporarily dabbling into this homeschool. So why become close friends with these other children that maybe we won't have an opportunity to connect with later on? It also had an impact on the field trips that we did. The field trips that they did were always associated with the curriculum, the extracurriculum and the programs, the co-ops that they were part of, all came from that purpose. And it also my attitude towards our day-to-day, towards our schooling, and also my children's attitude. We'll talk about that more next month. When I told myself that we were homeschooling year to year, it defined my purpose. My purpose defined my goals, and my goals determined our day-to-day decisions. At that time, I was so caught up in the curriculum that the curriculum was my focus, not my children. The curriculum was the measure of our performance. It was a measure of my performance because I was a school teacher, and school teachers get through curriculum every year. For the most part we did, but not always, and when we didn't, I felt like a failure. And I was also using that curriculum as a measure of performance for my children. I was really standardizing my children, because if children in the school system were using this curriculum or doing these studies, then I felt my children had to do them also. But I was comparing them, because when my children didn't live up to the expectations of the curriculum, again, I felt like a failure and put that on them, really. I have since learned that some children thrive and are so strong in some subjects, and I knew that, but I wasn't really applying it. So strong in some subjects, but then that same child can be weak or dislike or not, just not do as well in other subjects, and that's perfectly normal. But when I was stuck on that year to year, day to day, stick with the curriculum, I forgot that. Are you at that point also? It's a really hard spot to be in. But I want to just emphasize, there is nothing wrong with homeschooling temporarily and reintroducing your children back into school. What was wrong with that whole scenario was that it wasn't why I was homeschooling anymore. At that point, I was reassessing it all, and it wasn't my purpose anymore, but that's what I was living out. And that's why I say that it's really important to know why you're homeschooling. My big moment came when I realized that now that we're homeschoolers, now that we're in this, and for the foreseeable future, no longer year to year, that homeschooling could be so much more. And I kept asking myself, why in this time of flux, why am I homeschooling? My purpose was not anymore to be level with the public school curriculum. We were homeschoolers. We were in it for a little bit longer. But I was still in this period of indecision about my purpose. And I was in that state for a few years. Like I said, that was from when my children were 12, 10, and then for a few years along there. I posted a comment or a quote on our Facebook feed at Spark Homeschool Parent from Benjamin Mays, and he says, failure doesn't come from not reaching your goal, but from having no goal to reach. And for those few years, that's where I was. Is that where you are? Without a goal to reach? Without goals, I had no clear direction. I was constantly shifting my focus. When things got tough, then we changed to something else. I can't even tell you how many language arts curriculums we started and tossed and started new ones. Language arts was not a strength, and still is not a strength of my young adult boys. And it wasn't something that I really felt confident in teaching. So when that got tough, we ditched it. When my boys were in programs and they weren't enjoying them or something came up, we quickly changed and went to another program, or co-ops, or whatever it was. Or the opposite happened for a little while. Well, there were so many opportunities that we started doing this and we started doing that, and we took advantage of my focus was scattered. At one point, my 3 children are taking 3 different swimming lessons, gymnastics, hockey, robotics, a number of different co-ops. Whatever field trip sounded exciting, we were there. We actually had a term for it. And I don't know if you still have it, but car schooling, that was us. It was crazy. Diane, I see that you're out there, and I think you can probably relate to that car schooling. Everything sounded exciting. At this time of COVID, it might be a little bit different. There was, after this time of reconsidering and reassessing what my why was, my purpose, it didn't come quickly and it didn't come easily, but I came up with this. My purpose, my why for homeschooling was to awaken my children to the unique gifts that God has given each of them and to help them develop these for His glory. What's your purpose? Why are you homeschooling? You will continue to be asked. People won't stop asking, why are you homeschooling? And what you say to them really doesn't matter. But it's what you're telling yourself. Why are you homeschooling? What are you telling yourself? I'll give you a few examples. You may be homeschooling, taking your children out of school because maybe they're delayed in their reading and you really want to develop their reading skills. And what a wonderful opportunity that is, to homeschool your children and then reintroduce them into school, if that's your plan, as strong readers. The choices that you make and the environment that you create for your children will be phonics-based. Maybe educational therapy will be a big part of homeschooling for that child. But you will have a literature-rich environment. Maybe your child has behavioral issues, and that's why you're pulling them from school. And maybe you're going to homeschool for a long period of time, maybe temporarily, until that child matures. The choices that you make may be co-ops, lots of different variety of socializing, lots of one-on-one interactions, whatever it is. Maybe your family is going through a hard time, different family issues, whatever it is, and it's really important right now for your family to connect at this time. If that's your purpose, your decisions are going to be quite different again. Homeschooling can be very successfully a temporary solution. And many of my friends, that was the case. And they would say it absolutely was a success because they knew their purpose for homeschooling. Homeschooling also is a fantastic option for the long term, as it was for my family. So maybe you have children who just have exceptional talents and interests that they want to pursue, that the school system just can't accommodate for. And maybe that's your purpose for homeschooling. Why are you homeschooling? Because my child has these exceptional talents that I want to develop. Maybe your reason for homeschooling is faith-based, and you just have a deep core belief that homeschooling is the best for your family, whatever it is. As you discover your children's strengths more and more and their uniqueness, you discover many more reasons for homeschooling. We had, as I said, talked about strengths last month. If you didn't get a chance to watch those videos, watch those and you'll get a better sense of how your children's strengths and uniqueness create your purpose for homeschooling. Your purpose will be a filter. When new opportunities come at you, as they always do at various times throughout the school year, you're going to assess those opportunities through the filter of your purpose. Does this opportunity fit the purpose for this individual child? The purpose for homeschooling? You're not going to be like I was and say yes to this and yes to that and yes to everything. Some things fit and some things it's easy to say no, that just doesn't fit into our purpose of homeschooling this year. Your purpose guides your focus. So you're not, again, like I was, focused here, and then like you, our purpose gives us a longer, it's like that light at the end. Our purpose is an eye into the future, which helps us get through the mundane day to day. Sometimes it's the same, sometimes it's many times. It's not really exciting, our day to day, but when we have our eye on the future of what all of this homeschooling is all about, it really, that day to day, it's just a stepping stone towards where you're headed. And it's so exciting. What kind of, how does your purpose affect your attitude? Your purpose absolutely affects your attitude. It affects your attitude and it affects your children's attitude. So important to create a purpose and know why. Why are you homeschooling? There are many reasons for homeschooling. I just gave a few. That's like the tip. Many. It's a very, very individual journey. I can't tell you the answer to that question. You need to sit with that. Why are you homeschooling? You need it to stir inside your heart and wrestle with it. Why are you homeschooling? Maybe you know in your heart. Your next step is to write it down. Put it into words. Share it with your family. Modify it, change it. Like I say, wrestle with it. But put it into words. And when you think you've got it or got something close to it, post it on your fridge. Post it up in your homeschool classroom, wherever you're going to see it, so that you see it often and you own it. I know you want to succeed. And creating your purpose will help you do that. Now that you've created that overarching purpose for homeschooling, we're going to continue next week talking and into the month, talking about creating those shorter term goals. I hope this has been helpful for you. And I want to hear from you. Let me know where you are on that journey, how you're answering those questions of why are you homeschooling? And I want you to share them in the group. Let's encourage and spur each other on. This is Spark, Homeschool Parent. Our commitment is to equip you with the skills and the mindset to navigate through this ever-changing homeschool journey. If you're looking for a community of encouragement, join us if you haven't already in the Spark Homeschool Parent Facebook group. And I will see you next week, Friday, 1 p.m. for another Facebook Live where we'll be creating and discussing homeschooling goals for your children. Until next week, remember, as a homeschool parent, you can be the spark that ignites your child's learning.